Boom, Watch Fam!
What is up, Watch Fam, and welcome to episode 85 of ASKTNH. We are actually in a bread room. My buddy has a really cool bread shop in Garwood, New Jersey, and it's awesome. It's called End Grain. Check it out. It's really, if you're in the relative New Jersey, ish vicinity, take a 20-minute drive, 30-minute drive. It really is very good. They do their own fresh bread and all that stuff. Anyway, he's been generous enough to lend us his bread room, so we're gonna record a little video. Let's do it. So I'm constantly getting questions from like novice watch geeks and even like experienced watch geeks that are always saying, okay, obviously, you're a watch guy, you do watches professionally. Where do you get information from? What are reliable sources and stuff like that? How do I educate myself accurately on the history of watches and important watch information? And I always send them links to certain key things depending on their interests. But there are books. There are tremendous books out there that I genuinely recommend that everyone go and pick up. And I want to talk about one of them today. But before I do, I'm an extreme fan of Cartier. I know that they get a shit rap now, for a lot of different reasons, but historically, Cartier is probably like one of my top two favorite brands. I'm not sure what the first one is, maybe Rolex, maybe Patek, I have no idea. But Cartier is definitely up there. And I genuinely do think that as far as design is concerned, and as far as just watch history is concerned, everyone really should know a little bit more than they do about Cartier. Because they're not just like the Tank Anglaise or not the Cartier Drive. That stuff's important, but there's plenty more valuable information out there on Cartier. So I'm going to recommend a book on Cartier. It's Cartier, the Tank Watch, Timeless Style by Franco Cologni. I think, is it Cologni? Yeah. Check it out. There's a photo. So I found this book actually on Hodinkee, the Hodinkee shop. They charge like $100 for it, which is totally ridiculous. I usually don't recommend people go to eBay for watches, right? Because there's so much that goes into it. There's so many opportunities for you to get f***ed, and I genuinely think that it's just a huge risk. Even if you do know what you're doing. I was gonna say if you don't know what you're doing, but even if you do know what you're doing, you can get hurt. And yes, you have buyer protection and all that shit, but still it's a big headache and a potential disaster. But sticking in the watch industry and the watch field, there are amazing deals to be had on eBay, like this book. So on Hodinkee, it was $100, and quite frankly, maybe I'm just not a bookworm enough, but I'm not gonna spend $100 on a book that I'm probably gonna read once and use as a resource. I'm just not gonna do it. The internet is free, and I'm sure I could find plenty of this information online, but not all of it, right? So for $30 on eBay, I actually did buy this book, and I'll actually put a link below to the listing. And then the person who we're gonna put in the listing in the link below, I have no idea who they are. I really have no affiliation with them. I'm not selling their book. I'm just telling you that it's a tremendous book that they happen to own and that I put a bid on and got it. So why do I think that books are important? Really because, and yes, there always will be faulty information in books or outdated information, or sometimes it's just wrong. But what goes into a book is a lot more than what goes into a blog post. In a book like this was like someone's life. This is reliable, really solid information. Stuff that this Franco, I'm sure, put years of research into. I mean, look at the the index at the end, thanking all of his resources. It's incredible. And you're talking about like a major people in the watch industry. This is not an amateur. It's not amateur hour. I mean, when you read it, not only is it an enjoyable read, and not only the photos amazing, and the watch is totally historic and beautiful, but you can tell that this was not just a spur-of-the-moment blog post, that Franco wrote after reading 4 articles about the Cartier tank. This is, I want to call it, it's like a passion project. That's what it reads like. It reads like a passion project that someone literally put in, probably years of their life to develop. There's tremendous amount of, it's not just fact-checking, but it's just digging. There are photos here of Muhammad Ali wearing a Cartier tank that I've never seen before, and I might have never seen, Yeah, everyone knows the Andy Warhol one, and that's great, but there's just information in this book, and I couldn't possibly go through it. I mean, how long is the book? A couple hundred pages. Yeah, 200 pages. That is just, I want to say unfindable, but yeah, I don't think that's a word. It's missing from, and it would be impossible to everyone to write about it because the book already exists, and if I wrote it, it would be plagiarism. Bottom line is, I think the bar for a lot of horology books and a lot of publications is just set much higher, right? Which obviously works to your benefit than blog posts. And yes, there are brilliant articles online by Hodinkee, and everyone's written something good. But this is 200 pages of absolute, brilliance. And the historical, historical references here and the fluidity of the Cartier tank line, how it's expressed here is unbelievable. So I happen to have a passion for Cartier. Like I said, it's one of my 2 favorite brands. But I do think that you guys should actually pick up this book. And yes, there are books on Rolex by so many people, Mondoni and a lot of other people. But for right now, this is the book that I own. This is one I just bought for a crazy steal. Like I said, $35 I think on eBay, as opposed to $100 on Hodinkee. It was brand new. And if you actually are a guy who even wants to look at photos, even if you're not a big reader, it's still $30 worth of photos. Like, you're definitely not going to lose. It's a fraction of the cost of a strap, and you get a lot more stimulating and interesting information. So check it out. Thank you guys for watching episode 85 of AskTNH. Here's the cover of the book again. Please check it out. If you are a Cartier tank fan, if you don't like dress watches or history or significant people or Muhammad Ali or style, then don't. But I think that all of you people do like at least one of those things. But that's it. Check out. Thank you guys for watching.